right, folks, welcome back. Sheepdog Smoky here as always, and thank you for joining in. For those of you who have watched, I've kind of started to do a thing where I'm not talking about a news story. I mean, they do still influence me, they do still bring up what I want to talk about, but I'm really, as a teacher, it's more about starting a conversation. And while I was teaching, my job was to talk and to deliver information, but I wanted that back and forth, and I liked the aspect of throwing questions out and getting the class involved. Because when you have a conversation, when you have that back and forth, you're able to challenge each other. I was more so challenging my students, but now I'm not in a classroom. So I wanted to kind of continue that mindset in what I'm doing here. I've had this term I've used for a while, and if you follow me on Twitter, tag is in the description below, you'll have seen it. And I call it arrogant ignorance. And it is basically where someone refuses to even allow dissent or disagreement. And I've encountered it on a lot of topics, but most recently it has been the willful, arrogant ignorance of what socialism truly is. We get far more than you should from every Democrat, but the move to just screaming support for Sanders when he was kicked out of a kibbutz, which was a Marxist commune in Israel, immediately went to Soviet Russia, where he was married and honeymooned, praised Fidel Castro, wants to completely socialize every aspect of American life. It worries me to no end, because if you just knew what socialism does to countries, you would run from it as fast as you can. The concept of socialism on paper is wonderful. Everyone's equal. Everyone has the same. Everyone eats the same. Everyone has the same house. No one has more than the others. You're all equal. It just never works, because once you put a human, an emotional being in charge, and you give them power, they suddenly believe, I deserve more, because without me, this would all fail. And without me, no one would have anything. There's an old saying that socialism only works in two places: heaven, where it's not needed, and hell, where they already have it. What very few people realize, because they don't listen to the people who've survived it, is under socialism you have no rights. You are completely dependent upon the government for everything, including food, medicine, housing, transportation, a job, and medical care to save your life. We saw recently, and I say recently, it's recently in the span of human history, where a young boy was terminally ill in the UK. His mother was actually an Italian citizen, so he enjoyed dual citizenship, but the NHS doctors deemed him vegetative. He would never recover, so he was going to be taken off life support. His parents wanted to take him to Italy to get a second opinion. And the UK doctors actually told her, no, you may not remove your child from this government facility, because we've deemed that he must die. We also hear echoes of this with Bloomberg and his, oh, you're 95 and have terminal cancer. Well, you've led a good life. We have to be able to afford health care, and it's not economically viable to treat you. So under socialism, you have no rights. Your rights are not granted you by the Constitution or the government. They are enumerated in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, so that the government knows what rights it may not take from you and what rights it is to protect that you are inherently born with. And we have people who forget that. They want to mince and twist words. Well, the founders didn't know that the AR-15 would ever exist, so the Second Amendment doesn't cover it. But magically, the First Amendment covers Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and every other form of social media speech on a smartphone produced by a capitalist nation allowing innovation, so these idiots can tweet the need for socialism from their $500 phones, carrying their $800 purses, drinking their $20 lattes. It's disheartening, is what it is. And we need to, honestly, we do need regression in some areas. The biggest being education. We no longer teach, we indoctrinate. And I'll admit it right out of the bat. I am not young by any means anymore. 42 years old, 43 this year. I graduated high school in 1995. Famously, I rant on some sites, don't make me feel old, when it's pointed out that The Lion King was released the year I graduated high school. But even that far back, going back 30 years to when I was starting my 7th grade year. Sorry, I had to do some math there. When I was starting 7th grade, and I was in a very small town for 7th grade, I could already see it a bit. History teachers were starting to gloss over certain areas and emphasize certain other things. We still taught that the Nazi Party was a socialist party. We still taught that slavery was a horrific time in America's past and that it was not a solely American institution. And we still taught those things, but they were quick little lessons. And they wanted to get quickly to women's liberation and then to civil rights and then to other things that had a message behind them of trust the government. Today, it's even worse. I've taught history. It was part-time. I have also substituted. And I'm honestly surprised that I was asked back for a 2-week gig after I had lectured on tyranny versus draconian rule versus originalism, Jeffersonian governance. Because the students didn't know the difference. I mean, Jeffersonian is not a draconian tyrant rule. It is, what does the law say? Until that law is legally changed, going through the process, we enforce the law. The law currently states that theft is illegal. Unfortunately, some California towns are telling their police don't arrest people for theft because it just takes too much time. Public indecency, public defecation, public urination, all crimes. Yet, famously, San Francisco has poop maps instead of their police actually enforcing the law. And there's this push towards that is very much because the people who want to change it are in the minority, and they can't change it legally. And because they can't change it legally, they just want to do away with enforcement. This push to no longer enforce certain things or misinterpret things, as I rightly point out, or reinterpret or listen to the living, breathing document is born of ignorance. It's very plainly stated in the Declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to preserve these rights, governments are instituted among men. It's a very simple concept. You have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness given to you by your Creator. But we have people who twist words and then misquote, be it willfully or other. And this is very dangerous because it reinforces this ultra-liberal mindset of, oh, I can tell you what that right actually means as opposed to what it says on paper. And the fact that we can have someone running for president who actually either can't remember or deliberately misquotes something scares the living daylights out of me. And it should scare the daylights out of you too. But instead, we have mass media praising Joe Biden for this.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
A more dangerous version of that is the interstate compact when it comes to the Electoral College. After 2016, which was just 2000 version 2.0, when a majority of the country by landmass and by Electoral College voted for Donald Trump. If you look for a county-by-county map, it is 95% red. But because of liberal megacities like New York City, like Los Angeles, like Chicago, like San Francisco, Sacramento, Portland, Seattle, the popular vote went for Hillary Clinton. And the Electoral College is there for exactly that reason. The founders knew that geographically we would be very different in how we think, and that each state needs to be represented equally. Now, it's not equal as in the Senate where everyone has two. It's equal as in the House of Representatives. The more people your state has, the more seats in the House you have. However many seats in the House you have is how many Electoral College votes you have. But liberals hate that they can't just say, oh, it doesn't matter that you won the Electoral College. California voted for me, so I win. If that ever happens, this country is gone. It will fracture. And if a socialist gets into the White House, the same thing will happen. But I've talked about this long enough. I do want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments, and as always, be civil. We can disagree and still learn from each other and still be civil to each other. We learn more when we do that. As always, please remember to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I'm actually, and I never thought I would do this, I'm looking at doing a giveaway when I hit 500 and then 1,000 subscribers. So you will want to share the video so that you can encourage that. At 500, it will be a copy of either 1984 or Brave New World, as you would prefer. The copy of 1984 will come with Animal Farm as well. Animal Farm is incredibly short. I'm doing this because those books need to be widely read again. Animal Farm very famously coined the phrase, all animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. You need only look at Mike Bloomberg and his push to disarm the entire country, but he will still be protected by men with guns because he is more equal than us. At 1,000, it will be a set of 4. Fahrenheit 451, 1984, Animal Farm, and Brave New World. I will ship. I'm not going to come at you for shipping and handling. If it's international, it may take me a little bit to come up with a little extra to get it to you and make sure that it gets to you properly. But the only real caveat is that you need to be able to read and understand English, because my local shops don't carry these in other languages. I want to make a go of this. That's why I always end with make sure to subscribe, like, turn on notifications, so that the larger the audience gets, the more I'm able to do these. I honestly, if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be, like, ruined. But I do feel this is a platform that will allow me to spread a different message than you're seeing, and encourage thought, encourage discussion, encourage debate. And the larger the channel gets, the better that debate will get. Again, my only rule, stay civil. If you're disagreed with, reiterate your point, enforce your point, but don't scream and insult and get vulgar. I will warn you if that happens, just as I would hope someone would warn me if I'm getting a little too passionate. Say, hey, brothers, tone it down. But I will block if someone just refuses to respect the simple fact that we all have a right to our own opinion and to voice that opinion. So again, please like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share the video so that others can get involved. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.